and welcome everyone. In today's demo, I'm going to showcase how easy it is to create an intelligent business reporting scenario using Denodo Professional. This is a use case that's commonly used for BI reporting, for executive reporting, dashboards, and building intelligent insights using your disparate data sources. My name is Mitesh Shah, and I'm the Director for Cloud Product Management here at Denodo. Let's walk through this use case scenario and see how it can be done using the Denodo Professional. Right. So the goal here is to showcase, in a few simple steps, within 30 minutes or less is the challenge, the end-to-end process of how we can, get insights to your business data in a real-time fashion. So the scenario here is, building a BI reporting framework. The next step would be to connect to the data sources on the AWS cloud, in this case, RDS, Aurora, Athena, and S3 that will hold our data files and data. Once we have the connection, the third step would be to define the business model using the design studio of Denodo. And then we will create, use the power visualization tool like Power BI to quickly, create further insights, charts, graphs, and so forth. As you can see here, most of the tasks can be done by a user like a business analyst or a developer, power user who understands the business. There will be some sections where you may need help from your cloud admin to get the connectivity information for your data sources. Okay, so with that, let's talk about the use case scenario. As I mentioned earlier, the data is spread across different data sources on AWS cloud. For example, I have my current sales data in RDS, MySQL, historical sales data in AWS Athena, and dimension data, CSV files, and then a few other files about regions, state information, time data, and so forth in a CSV file on S3 bucket. Now, what we're going to do is build an integrated views across this and reports such as total sales by store by year, total sales by year, and by different states. So kind of give you that, a dashboard like reporting structure that can be leveraged by the executive team or the management team for further insights, right? And later we'll use the BI tool to, do some more reporting on that. Okay, one of the key strengths here I would mention here is of Denodo is the performance capabilities, right? The performance optimizations that are built into Denodo helps you work with volume of data, millions and billions of rows with minimal overhead, and bring that data quickly back to the users, which cannot be easily handled by our data visualization tools, right? So that's one of the core benefits. It also more real time. It also helps you create that persistent semantic layer across your data sources, right? So with that, let's get started. I'm going to jump to my instance of Denodo Professional that's up and running. I am logging to my design studio here. That's a UI interface. Okay. Once you log in, the first step we talked about the business challenge and the problem. The next one is to define the connections to my data sources, right? First, I'll get started with a new database creation, and I'm going to call it BI, and we'll just give it a name, BI reporting. Okay. So here on the left-hand side, you can see there is a database, a Denodo database. Think of it as a relational database. Start creating my connect strings. First one being MySQL Aurora is a JDBC connection. I'll call it DS MySQL. And the adapter will be MySQL version 5. So let's pick that. The database URL or the URI is something I've stored here. I'm going to take that and put it up here. Username, password. Okay. The driver class and the path are here. Let's test the connection. Okay, great. So I'm going to save it and quickly move on to our next data source, which is going to be AWS Athena. So that's another JDBC. We're going to call it AWS Athena database adapter. And let's pick up this connection information that I have from my cloud admin. Okay. Here. Now we're going to use the IAM credentials to connect to this instance. So for that, I would need the access key and the access password. So let's quickly look at that. My access key and the password. Okay. And here you can see the class path and the driver class have been. So let's do this test connection. Perfect, it works. We can save it. And you have DS Athena. And last but not the least, I'm going to create a connection to a data source, which is my CSV file that's up here on S3 bucket. So here I'm going to connect to a CSV. Okay, on data route, I'm going to pick S3 configuration. I need to point to the bucket. So where it stores my state information and the geo information about the states. So that's my URL to the bucket. I can quickly show you, this is where, so I have this S3 bucket under my account with this particular CSV file, right? So that's what I'm pointing to. You can copy the URI from here and use it in your connections, right? So that's how you would do it. Authentication, we're going to use the IAM credentials again for this. And what we're going to need is the access ID and password. So let me pick my access ID and the secret password. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, we'll do a quick test connection. Okay, so here it's asking me what's a column delimiter. I forgot that. Okay, so that's a comma. That's what's in the Excel file. In the CSV file, we are testing the connections. Perfect. And there you go. Okay, so I'm going to save it. So this is all the 3 different data sources that I have. Okay, so now we have our 3 data sources configured and created. So the next step, I'm going to start creating, the next step is to import the metadata, all your data, the tables and everything that you have in your source into Denodo, right? So we'll start with the CSV file. This is one that you just completed. So if we click on this data source, we say create the base view. Now, since we have checked the header here, it will show me all the columns that are there in the view, right? And here you can see if I go to edit, I want to make sure I can mark the abbreviation as the primary key here, okay? And then I'll give it a name just to make sure we can save it. Well, we're gonna call the view as PV state abbrev. Okay, so this is the base view. Okay, so here, if I double click on it, options, what we need to do is make sure we can generate the statistics so that the optimizer knows what it is. And that's how we do that. If you go back to summary, execute this, I just want to show you quickly what's in the table in the CSV file. So you have the state, the abbreviation, the latitude, the longitude, right? The geo information. Okay, so we are done with the metadata from the S3 bucket here, which we're going to use at a later stage. Okay, now let's go to the MySQL here. When I click on here, this is the connection. We're going to get the base view. And here I have my three tables: store sales, store, and date dimension, right? So we're going to create those. Perfect. We have now those three tables here. We can rename this and prefix them by BV. We'll just leave them as it is in interest of time here. Okay. And then I'm going to go to Athena, click here, create my base views. Look at, there is this Athena has all the TPCDS data, right? So here we're going to mainly focus on store sales, store dimension, date dimension. So these are the three main tables that we're going to use in our reporting. We create them here. Okay. So that way now we have all the 6 tables under my BI database, right? So first now off, we're going to start building. So let's close this and close this and this. So the next step is I want to combine my store sales, which is my current sales data, with the date dimension, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and say I want to create a join between my store sales and date. Drag and drop. Okay. So here the primary key date sold, which is to date SK. Here you can see the join condition, and the where clause is going to be based on, so here D year is greater than equal to 2002. So this is what I consider my current sales data, anything greater than 2002. Okay. And if you look at the output, we need to make sure we can mark the primary keys. The item SK is my primary key, and the ticket number, right? So as a business analyst, you would need to have an understanding of your business model that you are working with. And once I define those two, okay, I'm going to call this integrated view of current sales. Okay, and this is my name of the table of the view that I'm creating, an integrated view from my base views. Okay. Okay, just want to make sure we have everything. Okay, one other thing, since we are combining these two tables, the store sales and the date dim, right? I wanted to just keep only the columns that are, so we're going to keep all the columns that are in store sales. Okay, and want to get rid of all the date dimension columns. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm just want to make sure okay, so we are keeping all the store sales data and the date SK column that we have. Okay, and the rest I'm going to remove. So let's remove them. And now I'm going to save this. And as I save it, let's do a quick run of it, execution and execute. And here you can see all my data, that's current sales data about beyond 2002. Okay, and here on the left here, you can see this integrated view current sales has been created. Now I'm going to use the same mechanism to define and get an integrated view of all my historical data from this tables, the base views that I have imported from the AWS Athena, right? So we can close this, and I'm going to do a quick join operation for, okay, this is my historical data. I'm going to move this a little fast. So define the join key here across the date, After that, you can see that's the join key, the where condition. I'm going to define that as this, anything less than 2002. Okay. And output, again, just make sure we have the primary keys marked. And we want to make sure we can keep all the store sales data. Okay. And as you can see, I'm keeping all the store sales data and also uh, the date column, right, from the date table. Okay, so with that, you have your, and obviously we want to rename this IV integrated view of historical data, historical sales. Okay. All right, perfect. So with that, did I remove this? No, I didn't remove. So I need to click here. Okay, so I just removed all the columns from the date dimension, just kept the date SK column, right? With that, we'll save this view, and there you go. You execute it, and there it is. So this is my historical sales data that I've got from Athena, right? So on the left here, you can see you have your integrated view of the current sales and the historical sales. And this is all my data that's fetched out of the historical sales, okay? So what we learned so far, we defined the connections, we imported the metadata from Athena, MySQL, and S3 bucket. Those are the base views. Uh, you know what, one thing we could do to organize this better, and I can show you here, is we can call it a base view folder, okay? And what we can do is, as we are, we want to move all of those tables that I have into the base view folder, right? So that way it's easier for us to manage, and you can see less crowding here. And then I can create another folder which says integrated view and so forth, right? So now I've organized this, all the base views that I've imported. Now, this two, I'm gonna combine the current sales and the historical sales. So with this, I'm gonna do an union extended historical data and sales data, okay? Um, and here, I'm gonna combine all of this into one view. The output here, I'm gonna call it total sales, total sales. Okay. And so here, let's save this, execute. So now it's, you can see I'm getting all my combined data, and on the left here, you can see total store sales data. Okay, perfect. So far we have done, created all combined data across the different base views, and then we have aggregated those and created a union all for all my total sales, store sales. Now we're going to define two new reports, right? So I have my store sales and also have the store data, right? So you're going to create two new reports: total sales by store and then total sales by state, using all the integrated views across the base views. And then we created the total sales from our current sales and historical sales. Now, in terms of reporting, we're going to create uh, a BI report which comprises of the total sales, and we're going to use the store data to see how we get a total sales across the different states. Okay, so for that, we're going to start with the new join operation here. And I'm going to bring my store, drag and drop. So the connection key here is going to be my store SK with the store SK, right? So that's by store. Here you can see the join condition. Group by, we're going to enable the group by here. And we're going to group by the state and the year. So we're going to pick the year column from the total sales view and the state column, which is from the store table. All right, so that's that. And I'm going to move them here. Okay, in the output now, we have two fields, right? And we're going to call this as state. We can change the name of the columns here. And this one, we're going to call it as a year. Okay, these both are the primary keys. And we're going to add another aggregate field. The field name is the total aggregate of the quantity. So we want to do a sum of, okay, the field name we're going to call it as total units. And then this is going to be quantity. So let's see. Okay. So total sales quantity. Okay. So this is how we aggregate that data and total units. All right. And this view, I'm going to call it as total sales by year and state. All right. So with that, we will save it. Let's run it. So this is going to give me my state, year, and the total units that were sold, right? The quantity. And here you can see all the different rows across my table here. Okay. Now, one step further, right? We will take the data that we have from our S3 bucket, which has the geo dimensions, right? And that was stored under business view state abbreviation, right? So we will do another step further down. We'll take this report here and do another join with my state abbreviation PSVs, okay? And here the join condition is based on state, okay? So, okay. And the output, since I have two state columns, I'm gonna get rid of one of them. So we'll remove this, all right? And let's call this as total sales by state, by year, and state name, right? Just to give it a different name, total sales by year and state name, because we are looking at the data from the geo data from the CSV file that we had. All right, so with that, save it. Let's run it. Okay, so you can see it has all the information across by the year and with the geo dimensions and everything, right? So with that, you can see you have your two, BI reports created. Now the next step is how I can leverage this. So I have a Power BI tool installed on one of my VMs, right? And here I can show you that it has connectivity to my Denodo instance, right? So if I look at configure, it is connecting to the instance that I have, and that's where we're going to try and fetch data, connect. Power BI has a connector for the Denodo specifically. So if you look under connections, and you should find a connector for the Denodo. Let's see. Maybe we passed it. No, it's right here somewhere. Okay, there you go. So Denodo connect, and this should bring up. So this is the ODBC connection that we had defined earlier. Once you connect it to it, you can see the data. Here's my BI database, and here's the data by state. All right. So this is going to bring up all the data that you can see here. Perfect. Right. And what I want to do is load this data. And this is going to load this. And what we will do then from here is we are going to use a regional chart, a filled chart for the region, so that we can use that. So once your data is there, I'm going to use a field map. The field map showcases, and I'm going to pick the state and the total units. All right. So there you go. You have your data, and it resembles which states have what data. And here, if you hover over, it shows you the total units sold and everything, right? So Power BI can be used to further, beautify your reports, build new graphs. You can also add the year data that you want into the visual, right, into the visual filter. Uh, and I'm going to turn on basic filtering, and see here you can then pick by which years, individual years. As you click on here, you could see the data changing here as well, right? So that's it, meaning just to quickly wrap up, let me minimize this, and we close this instance, go back to our demo. All right, so we did this end to end. What you can do next is get started with a 30-day free trial of Denodo Professional on the cloud marketplace. You would need your cloud account, right? Sorry. And you can start as low as $6.27 per hour. You get full Denodo standard support during the free trial and as part of a subscription. And also get access to a remote sales engineer during the free trial. So with that, thanks for watching this, and all the very best.